So I hope everybody is having a good day so far. Yes, definitely. So it's really wonderful and fantastic to have all of you in today's session. A very warm welcome to all of you once again to another exciting class today. This is Pratibha and I'm your senior biology teacher. So in today's discussion, we are going to start with a new topic, that is the topic of control and coordination. We are going to understand about the concept according to the exam point of view, and if you are having any kind of questions, any kind of queries, or if you wanted to know more details about the concept, you can definitely feel free to reach out to us by the chat or the comment section. So in today's discussion, our topic will be of control and coordination. Okay, so in the concept of control and coordination, what exactly the topics that we shall discuss will be, we shall be understanding about the introduction, of course. Any chapter will have the basic introduction, right? So we shall understand about the introduction, followed by the sense organs and receptors. We shall be understanding about human nervous system and the organs of it. We shall be understanding about central nervous system and the parts and the functions of the brain. Particularly the brain is one which belongs to the central nervous system. Okay, spinal cord is also the one belonging to the central nervous system. We shall discuss regarding them, followed by the peripheral nervous system, the parts and the functions of PNS, and half nervous tissue is getting protected, the brain habita is getting protected, and reflex action, reflex arc, the type of reflexes. A brief glance we shall be understanding. Now you might have a question. Ma'am, there are few more topics in this now. Like we have the topic of coordination in plants and hormones with respect to human beings. Then what about them? Do you also have the question? Same question in your mind? Okay, let me be specific. If we discuss all the things in one single time now, it's really not fitting into our brain. It is really very difficult for us to understand, digest, and it is really very difficult, right? So that's the reason what I have done. This particular chapter, I shall be discussing it in two parts. So today's discussion will be only this. In the next subsequent upcoming sessions, we shall be understanding about the other things, like how the coordination in plants is getting carried out, what is the function of plant hormones, what is the function of human hormones. All this conceptual discussion will be there. Okay, so now let's see what will be the concept of control and coordination. Tell me, what do you think, what do you infer by this term? So the term is control and coordination, right? It is doing something, it is giving a specific action. Okay, so for suppose let's take a small seed, and you are very fond of having the seeds and planting them. So you have taken a small seed, you have placed inside the ground. After some days, what happens? The seed germinates, right? So it will be germinating. It gives the roots, it gives the shoot. The shoot will be emerging up and the root will be penetrating the soil and emerging downwards, right? So basically, what we can observe over here, the living organisms, they are showing the movement which is a sign of life. So in our seed scenario also, when we are trying to plant a seed, the seed germinates, it pushes the ground, it pushes the soil, and it is moving, it is growing. Means we can say it is showing a movement with respect to the growth. So similarly, we see many of the living organisms, not only growth, there are certain things that we are carrying on. For example, if you are moving from one place to another place, of course, we can call it as a locomotion, right? There is a movement. Our bones and muscles are helping us in moving. But what is guiding to move? Our brain is making decisions. Our nerves are creating impulses, generating impulses, sending commands, sending instructions. Yes, definitely. So we can say the living organisms, they are using the control and coordination systems for achieving various things within our body. So in multicellular organisms, suppose if it is a unicellular organisms, let's take the first scenario. The single cell itself performs all the activities. Nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, control and coordination, all will be exhibited by the single cell. But if it is a multicellular organism, where when there is an increase in the structural complexity of the living organism, of course, we could find specialized tissues and organs should be there in order to perform the control and coordination. So what we can say, with respect to the multicellular organism, specialized tissues and specialized organs will be performing the control and coordination. Yes, so this might be related to growth or not related to growth, that's not mandatory, but a living organism is definitely showing a movement. Wow, that's fantastic. Then now, with respect to the animals, with respect to the human beings, how this control and coordination should get carried out? Do you think it is only the function of nervous system? No, no, no. Not only the nervous system. There is one more system that we shall discuss about. Okay, so the first one is the nervous system, and then we shall have the endocrine system. In today's discussion, we shall focus on the nervous system. In the next session, we shall understand about the endocrine system. I told you earlier, na? We shall be understanding about the hormones. So where do the hormones be? Within respect to the endocrine system, the endocrine glands secrete them. Okay, so we shall discuss about these things. So the coordination in animals being brought out by the nervous system and endocrine system. Okay, so what they do? They are like friends together. They jointly coordinate. You know, if there is a small task, if in your schools, if they have given you to perform any projects or anything, any work related work, so what do? If you perform it in a single way, it's really difficult for you. That's the reason they pair you up along with your co-classmates or the other classmates, and you both will do together the work very efficiently with two different innovative brains, with two different innovative ideas, ideologies. You put your best work possible. Yes, so in the similar manner, we have not only the nervous system, the endocrine system, both of them, they jointly coordinate. It's like they are mutually coordinating with each other. They are integrating the functions of various body parts. Why? In order to maintain the normal physiology, in order to carry out the normal physiological process for the body to help in having its own activities without any hindrance. The nervous system and the endocrine system, both of them together, they work. Okay, so let's take the previous example only. If two of your friends are working together, sometimes some might be quick in their action, some might complete the work very fast, but the second one might take some time, right? Okay, take time, but have the accuracy, have the precision, so the work gets completed and the work will be perfect. Okay, so similar manner, we have two things over here, the nervous system and the endocrine system. So the nervous systems, here the actions will be getting mediated by the neuron, and these are very quick. And on the other hand, we have the second category, the endocrine system, where the actions are getting mediated by the hormones, but they are slow. But yes, they work. They might be slow. It's not like they don't work. They are slow, but they are perfect, they are accurate, and they are precise. Okay, so we can say that the coordination in animals being brought by nervous system and endocrine system. Are we clear till here? Can we move forward then? Definitely. Now, you're on your way to home back from the schools. You have come across a very nice, beautiful food shop. Okay, food or cafeteria. Let's define it as cafeteria. Okay, you have seen some good kind of food that are very lovely, and your eyes have first seen it. You are in urge to eat it. You have some money, of course. Now your brain thinks, my money is there. If I spend over here, I will not be left with any money, or some calculations you will be making in your mind. So if it is a real intensity of you to eat that particular food item, okay, you will go, you will order it, that will come to you. Then first you see it, you smell it, you touch it, and you taste it. Yes, am I clear? Now, what is helping you to analyze the food item? Your sense organs. So, what are sense organs? The eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin are the sense organs, five sense organs. Okay, what they will be doing? They will be sensing the changes within the environment, and they will be giving the information to whom? To your brain. Okay, so to whom? Of course, to our brains, no. Then for whom they will give? No, no. So now, if you could find, first the eyes have seen, the nose have smelled, the ears particularly for hearing, and the tongue for tasting, and the skin for having the touch sensation. These are the sense organs. There will be some special structures in these sense organs which will be helping you to analyze and understand what is a kind of external stimuli that is making you to give some action. Okay, so what are they? They are receptors. Let me tell you once again, what are receptors? They are special cells or the group of cells where they are being present in the sense organ. Okay, so where they, what they are sensitive for? They are sensitive for stimuli like, it might be light. Eyes are sensitive for light. Sound, ears sensitive for sound. Smell, nose is sensitive for smell. Taste, tongue, and heat pressure, how we can feel it through touch sensation, nothing but the skin. So these receptors are of various kinds, and let's see what are the receptors. Photoreceptors are the ones that detect the light present in eyes. Phonoreceptors detect sound present in ears. Olfactory receptors detect the smell present in nose. What else we have? Gustatory receptors, which enhances, like which helps in detecting the taste present on the tongue. And finally, thermoreceptors. These thermoreceptors are detecting the heat or the cold. Particularly where they are being present, they are being present within the region of the skin. Wow, that's really wonderful. Ma'am started with the concept of coordination, and ma'am have told about nervous system, endocrine system. Now we are thinking ma'am is into these sense organs and these receptors. What is this? Let me tell you, okay? I just wanted to describe about the functioning of control and coordination with respect to the human beings. So that's the reason I am introducing all these terms initially for you. So that whenever I go to the concept, it will be very easy for you. Okay, now stimulus and response. What is a stimulus? When there is any change in the environment, if it might be heat, okay, when it is a lot of coolness around you, what you do? You wear extra protective clothing to protect your body from the coldness, right? Yes, in winter seasons we wear sweaters for the same. So stimulus is any change in the environment. It might be heat, light, sound, or touch. So what does the receptor do? Gustatory, olfactory, all this we have seen. Na? The receptors will be converting it into electrical signals, and this is called as a nerve impulse. Now, the nerve impulse is traveling through the sensory nerves reaching the brain or the spinal cord. Okay, so the stimulus, now where it is reaching? The brain or the spinal cord. You have seen a beautiful rose. You wanted to see it in very near way. You wanted to move towards the region where the rose is present. Okay, particularly probably initially you are a very far away place. So you are just moving. You have moved. You are observing the rose very clearly. So, what gave you an intention of moving towards, which gave you an instruction? Of course, your brain, right? So, now the brain is processing the message that you have seen a beautiful rose. Now you wanted to move near to it, you wanted to observe in a very magnified way, so you wanted to move near to it. Now the brain is processing the message and it is sending the instruction through motor nerve to muscle or gland. So this muscle or gland shows a response, nothing but you moving towards the post flower. Of course, the muscle movement only gives us with movement, locomotion, skeletal system and muscular system. They both work together, right? So now what is an effector? Effector is nothing but the part of the body that is respond to the nerve signal. Here it is muscle or the gland. Muscle being responsible for movement, gland being responsible for secretions. It might be the salivary secretions, it might be sweat or any kind of secretions. Okay, so nerve control and coordination in humans. In humans also we have two systems. They work together. What are they? Endocrine system and nervous system. So what they are controlling? The body movements, thinking, emotion and internal activities. When the topic control and coordination came, we generally think it is only the external movements, but no, not only the external movement, it is also the internal movement. It might be heartbeat, it might be digestion, it might be any internal process that is occurring with respect to a human body. Yes, so now coming to the first thing, the first main topic, human nervous system. So what does it act like? It will act like a control center from the surroundings. When there is a change in the environment, there is a receiving of information from the surroundings, and our brain or the spinal cord, the nervous system is understanding this information, and it also sends the instruction to different body parts so that our different body parts are reacting according to the stimulus that was received. Yes, so now coming to the structural and functional unit of our nervous system. It is nothing but the neuron. What we can call the neuron to be? Repeat with me, the structural and the functional unit. Okay, so this is the structural and functional unit. What it comprises of? It comprises of some short branching structures, the dendrites. So nerve impulse from the other neuron will be entering this neuron through this dendrites only. The next what it is, it have, this is the cell body, otherwise called as soma. From the cell body, a long cylindrical region is there, no? That is nothing but the axon. Okay, so around the axon, we could see a sheet-like structure called as myelin sheath. So here neurons are of two categories, myelinated neurons, non-myelinated neurons. Myelinated neurons will have myelin sheath, non-myelinated neurons don't have myelin sheath. Okay, so we could see some gaps over here in the myelin sheath which are called as nodes of Ranvier, and the neuron ends with the axon terminals, the nerve endings. Okay, so this is the overall structural and functional unit of the nervous system, that is a neuron. So nerve impulse from the other neuron reaches the dendrites, travels to the cell body, from cell body to the axon, axon to nerve terminals. From here it is reaching to the next neuron. Okay, so the structural organization of neuron, mainly we can say that it is having three parts. What are they? The cell body, the dendrites and the axon. Okay, now the ones that I have discussed previously in the diagram, the same are being mentioned over here. So what is the function of neuron then? What will be the function of it? It will be receiving, carrying and transmitting the messages. How? In the form of impulses, that too electrical impulses. So from one part to another part of the body for the transmission of messages or information, this will be playing a very important role. And this neuron is the structural and functional unit of the nervous system. Okay, so why neurons are so special? What is the speciality of them? Means they are designed to carry the messages very fast. Their action is so quick. Within a flash, they will be giving the response. So they are also transmitting the impulses, the signals over long distances. Okay, So whenever there are changes in the environment, they help the body to respond very quickly. So for suppose we are moving, suddenly a flash of light appears on our face from nowhere. What we will be doing? Immediately we are going to put our head away, right, from the light source. We are showing a quick response. How? With the help of neuron, with the help of the nervous system. Now, the direction of nerve impulse. The nerve impulse always travels in a single direction. From where? From the dendrites, okay? Dendrites to cell body to axon, axon to axon endings, the nerve endings. This is how only one directional response will be there. So, now coming to synapse. Okay, in the previous scenario, we have seen the first neuron. Let's take two neurons over here. The first neuron and the second neuron. From dendrites, the nerve impulse gets transmitted to the cell body, then to axon, then up to the axon terminals, the nerve endings. Now it should move to the second neuron. How this is happening? Okay, in between these two neurons, there is a small gap, and we are calling it as synapse. So what is the synapse? The small gap between two neurons is called as a synapse. So using certain chemical substances, which we generally call it as neurotransmitter, the nerve impulse is causing the synapse. So by this, it also ensures the nerve impulse is traveling in only one direction, means only one way. Okay, so let me show you the neurotransmitter. This is a presynaptic neuron. Presynaptic neuron means the one before the synapse. Postsynaptic means the ones after the synapse. Okay, so now coming to the types of neurons. We have three categories of neurons: sensory neurons, motor neurons, relay neurons, or interneurons. Remember, neuron being the structural and functional unit of the nervous system, it is of again three categories. What are they? Sensory, motor, and relay neuron. Okay, so now let's try to understand what will be the differences between the types of neurons. So for better understanding, I have put this in a tabular format. Let's check the features: function, direction of impulse, location, example. Okay, give me a movement. Yes. Or sometimes that comes now. Don't worry. Okay, just ignore that. So now we could see the function over here. The features include the function, the direction of impulse, location, example, and what it is also being called as. Okay, so function of sensory neuron, motor neuron, and interneuron. Sensory neuron carries the impulses from sense organs to CNS. Motor neuron from where? CNS means central nervous system to muscles or glands. Interneuron or relay neuron connects the sensory and motor neurons. It is acting as a connecting bridge between this and this. So coming to direction of impulse, from receptors to the brain and spinal cord. Motor is from brain or the spinal cord to the effector. Interneuron is within the CNS. Now location, where the sensory neuron is present, sense organs and central nervous system. The motor neuron, CNS and effectors, there it is present, and interneuron only within the brain and the spinal cord region. So example, when we touch anything, we feel heatness or pain, pressure by the touch sensation, right? That one. Motor neuron is movement of hand, withdrawal of leg, movement of hands and legs, okay? That will be coming. Interneuron, on the other hand, in reflex action, in the quick, automatic, immediate responses, they will be playing a very important role. So, sensory is called as afferent neuron, motor is also called as afferent neuron, and interneuron is also called as association neuron. The board is also requiring a break. It's not coming when I'm pressing the button. Okay, now it came. So, coming to the nerve, we shall be understanding about the transmission of nerve impulse. How there will be step-by-step movement of impulse. Initially, we could find whenever there is any change with respect to our environment, the stimulus will be detected by the receptors of the sense organs. They send the signal to whom? To the sensory neuron. From the sensory neuron, the signal gets sent to the central nervous system, either brain or the spinal cord. After that, what happens? The brain or the spinal cord, it analyzes, interprets, and takes the decisions. Now it sends the information to motor neuron. The motor neuron acts on the effector. It might be a muscle or gland. The motor neuron give impulses to the effector, and effector is now producing a response. Okay, so the transmission of nerve impulse, the step-by-step movement of impulse, how it will be there? First, a stimulus is producing an electrical impulse where it is producing inside a sensory neuron. How? Initially, sense organs, the receptors of the sense organs are sensing it. So the impulse is traveling through the neuron from the dendrite to the cell body and then to the axon. Wow, this is very nice. Now, next, what happens at the axon end? Remember, between two neurons, we have seen synapse. There we have understood chemical messengers. What are they? Neurotransmitters. So, chemical messengers are getting released which crosses the synapse. Now, after crossing the synapse, it tends to act on the second neuron and creates a new electrical impulse in the next neuron. So, in this manner, from one neuron to another neuron, from one neuron to another neuron, there is a transmission of impulse, and the impulses will be moving in such way. If we have known a new thing, immediately what we'll do? We'll tend to our friend. Yes, or we'll tend to our tell to our family member. I have seen this, I have known this. This is a new latest news. Or if it is a gossip, gossip spreads very faster. Now you are connected with the gossips. Now, yes. So there is a transmission, there is a movement of the information. Similarly, here we could find from one neuron to another neuron, there is a movement of impulses. So why does impulse travel only in one direction? So we have seen only from one side of the synapse the chemical substance is getting released. So the receiving neuron, it is only accepting that signal, it is not accepting any other signal. So that's the reason we can say that the synapse, it is acting like a one-way gate, only entry, no exit. It's like that. So what it further ensures, now impulses are moving in one direction only. There is no other backflow of electrical impulses, only one way, no back way. Okay. Now, this is very, very important. Okay. Coming to the organs of the human nerve system comprises of brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Remember, the brain and the spinal cord, both of them come under the CNS, and the nerves come under the PNS. CNS means central nervous system, PNS means peripheral nervous system. So, brain, where is located? The beautiful picture of brain, where our brain is present inside the skull bone, and it is the main control center which receives the information, thinks, analyzes, interprets, takes decisions, give instructions, sends instructions. It does all the things together. Our brain is beautiful. Our brain is very tactic, very logical, and we can say a lot about our brain. Now coming to the spinal cord. It's not like only the brain is important. Our spinal cord is also important. So the spinal cord, it is like a thick nerve cord being present within the vertebral column inside our backbone. At the base of the brain, we could see the spinal cord emergence. So we can simply say the spinal cord is connected with the brain, and the spinal cord, the speciality of them is having the reflex actions. So, for suppose, let me give an example. When a person is touching a hot pan, immediately there is a withdrawal of our hand. Okay. Imagine if that stimulus should get detected by the receptor of the sense organ. It should travel to sensory neuron. It should go to the brain. Brain analyzes, interprets, take decisions, sends instruction to motor neuron. Motor neuron sends instructions to effector glands. All this pathway takes a lot of time. when the brain is involved, because brain needs some time to take the decisions. It's not so quick now. But when the spinal cord is involved, quick decisions, automatic decisions will be there. So that's the reason we can say the spinal cord is the one which is involved in the reflex action. So the nerves, on the other hand, remember, we are understanding about the neuron, which is the structural and the functional unit. Imagine a copper insulated copper wire. Okay, generally in our normal household wires, we can see uh, below the insulation, we can see a lot of individual copper wires, right? Individual copper wires are put together, insulated with an insulating material that becomes your wire. Okay, so now the same scenario, neurons, the structural and functional unit will be the individual unit. And when the axes of the neurons are put in together, when they are bundled together, when they are packed together, what we get? We get the nerve. So the nerves are spread throughout the body like electric wires, connecting the brain and spinal cord to each and every specific part of the body. Got it? Understood? Now coming to the types of nerve based upon the origin, based upon the point of emergence: cranial nerves, spinal nerves, and visceral nerves. Three types. What are they? The three types are cranial, spinal, and visceral. Cranial means from the brain, spinal from the spinal cord, visceral belonging to the intestinal systems, internal systems. Now, the other classification of nerves based upon the function. What we have? Three types: sensory, motor, and mixed. Sensory also called as afferent nerve. Remember again, don't get confused. Our previous discussion was neuron, afferent neuron, afferent neuron, and relay neuron. Now it is sensory nerve, afferent nerve, or motor nerve, afferent nerve, or mixed nerve. Got the difference? Yes. So now let's see what is the function of them. Okay, this will be so simple. Again, don't think it is complicated. Type of nerve: sensory, motor, and mixed nerve. Direction of impulse: sensory, sense organs to brain or spinal cord. The main role of it is carrying the information about what, whenever there are any outside or internal changes occurring within inside a body, it carries the information. What it is connecting? It is connecting the receptors in the sense organs to the CNS, helping detecting a stimuli. Okay, so the type of action will be helps in detecting the stimuli like heat, light, pain, or it might be sound, it might be even smell. On the other hand, motor nerve will be the opposite of it. So what it is connecting? The brain and the spinal cord, the muscle or the gland is the direction of impulse, and it is connecting the CNS to the muscles or the glands. So what is the role of it? Carrying the command from where? From brain or spinal cord to whom? To the body parts. So the type of action, it helps in producing a response like movement or secretion. What else we have? Mixed nerves. Two CNS from CNS will be present. So they are having, the term mixed itself says they are having both sensory and motor function. Okay, so we can see them connecting the CNS with muscle, skin, and organs. So what they help with? They help in coordinating actions by carrying messages within both directions. The sensory and the motor both will be there over here. Okay, now, how does the nervous system work? Now comes the question like how it is working. So, in it might be any stimulus, it might be heat, light, pain, pressure, temperature, anything. It is detected. Okay, sense organs. On the sense organs, we have receptor. They detect it. The sensory nerve carries the impulse to whom? To the CNS, including the brain or the spinal cord. Brain analyzes the information, interprets, take decisions. Okay, now it is sending the instructions to the motor neuron. Motor neuron acts on the effector. It can be a muscle or a gland. If it is a muscle, movement. If it is a gland, secretions, the hormonal secretions or any kind of secretions might be there. So for complex actions, sometimes the complexity involves extra strength, extra courage. Na? So that's the reason we have a combination of brain and spinal cord. For simple action, the spinal cord is enough. For quick, immediate responses, reflex actions, spinal cord itself is enough. Yes, now coming to the concept of organization of nervous system. Okay, let me give a pause. Let me reiterate the points once again for all of you. So far we have been understanding about control and coordination. We started with the discussion of introduction, followed by, do you all remember what else we have seen from the starting up to now? Structural and functional unit of neuron. Before that, we have understood regarding the sense organs, the receptors, effector, stimulus, then neuron, then what is a synapse, how the chemical transmitters will be playing a very important role in carrying the stimulus in one way. We have all seen, followed by the organs of the nervous system, brain, spinal cord, and nerve. The brain and spinal cord, we have got the brief introduction. The nerves, we have understood about them, how the impulse transmission will be there. Now we are understanding about the organization of the nervous system. So nervous system is having two divisions. Repeat with me. How many divisions? Two divisions. What are they? Central nervous system. Next, peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system comprises of brain and spinal cord, whereas the peripheral nervous system comprises of nerves arising from brain and spinal cord. It includes further somatic nervous system, autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system again have two things. What are they? Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Don't get confused. I will give a brief about these systems as per your standards. How much is required for better understanding, I shall explain you. So, now coming to the central nervous system. Let's go one by one. What does the central nervous system comprise of? Brain and spinal cord. Now, the central nervous system receiving the information from different body parts. Whenever there is an external stimulus, different body parts will be responding. So, particularly the receptors in the sense organs response, there is a processing of this information, the sending of the information, so that the body will be analyzing this information, getting the instructions from the brain, and the body gives a specific response. Okay, so what will be the main functions? It receives the messages from the sense organs, analyzes and interprets the information. After analyzing, who analyzes? CNS analyzes. Brain or spinal cord will be analyzing, sends the suitable responses to whom? To either muscles or the glands, which are nothing but, we can say, effector. Okay, stimulus to the sense organ, from sense organ to up to effector. This will be the thing. So the brain, it is considered to be the highest coordinating center, the master of coordination. We can call the brain to be, because it is controlling all the activities. So the brain, where it is being located, as we have seen earlier, what will be the location and protection? Once again, let's see the point. Inside the skull, at the top of the spinal cord. So the skull is protecting the brain. The first thing, it is protecting the brain. Apart from this, the brain is also protected by three protective membranes, which are called as meninges, the pia mater, the dura mater, and the arachnoid mater. So, one more thing, one more speciality of the brain is not only these meninges, it have one more fluid present between these membranes called as cerebrospinal fluid. So, what it is doing? The cerebrospinal fluid will be protecting the brain from shocks and injuries. Let me pause for a moment. Let me ask you, do you all remember in the previous session of transportation, we have seen in the internal structure of heart, there is a fluid that protects the heart. It prevents the friction. What is that fluid? What is that fluid? Here it is the cerebrospinal fluid. What with respect to the transportation, the heart? Pericardial fluid. Okay? I only gave the answer. It's a pericardial fluid. So the main parts of the brain, what will be the main parts of the brain? The forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. And let's see regarding the central nervous system, the parts of brain. As we have seen before the break, we have seen the brain consists of three parts: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain, it is the part of the brain which processes sensory information. So it helps with reasoning, problem solving skills, abilities. All this is given with the forebrain. So it is also regulating autonomic and endocrine motor functions. So coming to the midbrain, it helps in regulating movement and visual information, the predatory information as well. So hindbrain helps in regulating the autonomic functions. So it is relaying the sensory information. Apart from that, it coordinates with movement. It maintains the balance and equilibrium. And majorly over here in the hindbrain, we could see the balance, equilibrium, the posture being maintained by cerebellum. Cerebrum, the part of the brain, involves in thinking, involves in having the reasoning, the logic, all the memory will be there with the help of cerebrum, but cerebellum helps in the posture, the maintenance of balance. So let's have a glance about the parts of the brain. So forebrain consist of olfactory lobes, the cerebrum, and the diencephalon. As I have told you, cerebrum will be the one which helps us in thinking, in analyzing, right? So the diencephalon is further having two parts, thalamus and the hypothalamus. So the midbrain acts as a connecting link between the hindbrain and the forebrain, the hindbrain and the forebrain. So the hindbrain comprises of cerebellum, medulla oblongata. One more thing will be there, that is the pons. Pons acting as a connecting bridge. So cerebellum helps in balance, posture, and maintenance of equilibrium. So coming to the functions of the brain, what does the brain do? The brain is receiving sensory information. The brain is receiving nerve impulses from sense organs. What sense organs we have? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. So from all the sense organs, through the receptors, there is a receiving of information. So what it helps us? It helps us to feel the temperature, light, sound, taste, and smell. All the sensations in simple terms. So what else will be the function of the brain? It interprets and processes the information. It is analyzing and it is comparing the messages which is coming from different receptors. Okay, let me give you one example. You have seen a very nice place, you wanted to go there. Okay, first you have visualized, you have seen it with your eyes, you wanted to go near to that place. Okay, so your movement, your steps will be towards that place. You have reached that place. Wow, that's fantastic. The view is beautiful. There is a gentle breeze that is touching your body. You feel the breeze, na? Very cool breeze. So the touch sensation, huh? The same time, the beautiful smell of the surroundings. Very nice aromas, very nice flavors will be coming to you. Your nose is detecting the smell. See here, multiple things are happening at the same time. So the brain, it is not designed to take only one action at a specific time. It is handling multiple messages, multiple comparisons will be there from different receptors. So based upon this analysis only, it is deciding what responses to be given. Okay, if it is a very gentle breeze, very cool and very calm environment, you want to stay there. But what if the environment is very hot? You are profusely sweating, you are under the scorching sun. Would you love to be in that place? No, no, no. Definitely not. Now, what your brain instructs you to move away from that place immediately, go to shade and sit there. Okay, enough is enough. You have stood over there. Your body temperature regulation is out of control. Please go and sit. It will be instructing us, right? So, now what we can say, the brain is analyzing and comparing the messages which are coming from different kinds of receptors. So, based upon the analysis only, it is giving the most appropriate response. So what it controls voluntary actions, the ones which are under our own will, like walking. Our walking style is controlled, our writing style, the way that we speak, and the way we read, the way we play, everything is under the control of the brain. So it is not only involving voluntary actions, it also involves involuntary actions like the heartbeat, the blood pressure, the digestive activities, the ones which are occurring within our internal systems. So it is sending motor commands to whom? To either muscles or the glands. For what? To give a specific response. Okay, through the motor nerves it is sending the instruction to whom? To muscle or glands, nothing but the effector, so that there is a eliciting of response. What else it does? It coordinates body movement. So I am moving from here to here. My brain is working. I am maintaining a basic balance posture. It's not like I'm falling down, right? All of a sudden, no. My balance is being maintained. My posture is being maintained. I'm having coordinating the activity. I'm holding a pen. I'm holding this in my hand. So there is a coordination. I'm giving out coordination because my brain is working. My brain is very sharp. It is working. It is coordinating my body movements. Now, the internal balance, homeostasis, it is like the brain also regulate the temperature, hunger, thirst, and sleep. There are various parts of the brain. It's not the simple thing that we see. Previously, I told only few parts, na midbrain, hindbrain, and forebrain. Forebrain consists of this and this. I told olfactory lobes, everything I told. It is not only that. There are a lot of things, but as of the standards, we are not going to much detailedly discuss over here. Okay, only peripheral information is okay. We are happy with peripheral information. Now, coming to the storage of memory and experiences. This is a beautiful part of our brain. The childhood memories, the moments that we cherish, the moment that we love, our birthday parties, family functions, having some fun time with friends, celebrations, all we like a lot, na? So the brain is storing the memory and experiences. It is storing information, what to do, what not to do. It stores the past experiences. If they are good, definitely yes. If they are bad, we feel a bit bad about them, na? The skills, once you learn to do anything, once you're an artist, you have learned your skill very nicely. It's not like it goes away in one day. No, no, no. Constant practice, your skill remains your skill only. Okay, so our brain is helping to store the memory of this skill also. So finally we can say it is storing memory and experiences so that it helps us to learn and recall. For suppose I am saying this class now. Okay, some part of your brain is analyzing, it is interpreting the data, storing the information. In your exam paper, you will represent the information. Okay, your brain is learning, it helps you to have a creation of memory and understanding and helps also in recalling. So what else our brain do? It controls our emotions, our behavior. Particularly during the teenage years, we have excessive, aggressive mood swings. Sometimes we feel happy. At the same moment, we feel very happiness, sadness, all this go hand in hand, right? So happiness, fear, anger, sadness, all the emotions are under the control of whom? Under the control of the brain. So what it is influencing, this is very, very important. It influences our behavior. If you are a happy, smiley person, okay, when anybody wants to describe you, what they will say? They will take out your name and he is a very happy person. She is a very happy person. She smiles always. Her smile is beautiful, or his smile is beautiful. Or if you are a person who is aggressive all the time with all the members, around you, then what they'll tell? This person, he's so aggressive. She's so aggressive. She don't talk politely. Yes. So what is shaping our behavior? The emotions also. So who are controlling it? The brain is controlling it. Okay. So it is also supporting thinking and intelligence. It is supporting functions like thinking, reasoning, decision making. The brain is the decision making, creativity, the problem solving. All this will be under the control of our brain. So let's have a summary of the functions of the brain. What did the students receive sensory information, interprets and processes this information, controls voluntary and involuntary actions, sends motor commands to motor nerves, and coordinates body movements, helps in maintenance of internal balance, memory storage, past experience storage will be there, controlling mainly emotions and behavior, and supporting our thinking and intelligence. See how good our brain is and how much it is helping. That's the reason we always need to keep our brain sharp. Don't keep your brain dull every time. Don't be dull and lazy. Keep your mind sharp, learn a new skill, learn some new things which enhances your sharpness, your motor skills, your analytical skills, your thinking, logical reasoning skills. Okay, so now moving on. The central nervous system also comprises of the spinal cord. It is like a long cylindrical thick nerve cord from where it is beginning from the medulla of the brain and extending downwards, being enclosed in the vertebral column or the backbone. It is also having the protection by the meninges as well as the CSF, the cerebrospinal fluid. It also has 31 pairs of the spinal nerves. So function includes the main thing, it is the controller of reflex action. So for nerve impulses to travel from sense organ to brain and from brain to muscles and glands, it is acting as a pathway. The spinal cord acts as a pathway. So moving on, peripheral nervous system. So far what we have learned, central nervous system comprising of brain and spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord, is it done? Yes. Now coming to the peripheral nervous system, comprises of nerves arising from brain and spinal cord. Okay, before moving to the topic, let me check if any question. Okay, so damage to the cerebellum is affecting the body balance but not thinking ability. Why? Why? Because damage to the cerebellum. Cerebellum is being involved in maintenance of balance, posture, and equilibrium. No, cerebrum is being involved with thinking and analyzing, interpreting of the data. So when there is a damage to the cerebellum, of course the body balance is getting affected because cerebellum is the one which is controlling the balance, posture, and equilibrium. So that's the reason we can say the cerebellum is affecting the body balance, but it is not the thinking capacity because thinking capacity that is under the control of the cerebrum, not cerebellum. So now moving on, the peripheral nervous system, it is comprising of nerves arising from the brain and the spinal cord. So what is the main role? It is carrying the messages from where? From sense organs to whom? To brain and spinal cord. So from brain and spinal cord, where does the information pass? To the muscles and the glands. So finally, all the pathways same again. Now, components of PNS. What does this comprise of? Cranial nerves. The nerves arising from brain are the cranial nerves. The nerves arising from the spinal cord are the spinal nerves. Simple. Okay, 31 pairs of spinal nerves and 12 pairs of cranial nerves will be the components of the peripheral nervous system. So, functional divisions of PNS. Again, moving on. It has somatic nervous system, autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic. As of this standard, all these things are not required, but for your information sake, I will be giving only few of the topics out of it. Okay, not much, no much details, only just the slight information and the introduction. So the somatic nervous system, what does it tend to do? It controls the voluntary actions, means it is under our control, our brain's control. When we are walking, when we are writing, when we are reading, when we are lying down, when we are lifting any object, it is under the control of our skeletal muscles. So the skeletal muscles are doing it. So the somatic nervous system is mainly controlling the skeletal muscles which are being involved in the voluntary actions. So then definitely, what about the involuntary actions? Now comes the autonomic nervous system, which is controlling the involuntary actions. So what it is doing? It is working automatically without any conscious effort, like the digestive activities, the heartbeat, the respiratory mechanism, the breathing movements, all the internal organs and glands, and even we could say the muscles are under the control of this autonomic nervous system. Okay, so it is of two categories again, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. They are working together so that there is a maintenance of balance within our body. Okay, got it everyone? Now, peripheral nervous system. What does it help with? It helps the body to respond to changes in the environment. So it is acting as a coordination center between the CNS and body organs. Whatever the actions are being produced, it is coordinating those actions. It is being involved both in the voluntary and involuntary activities. So we can say peripheral nervous system. Since it comprises of nerves arising from brain and spinal cord, it is essential for survival and proper functioning of the body systems. Okay, we shall be discussing about how are the nervous tissues being protected. Okay, from all our previous understanding, let's see. The nervous system, it is controlling and coordinating many activities. So of course we can say the brain is delicate, the spinal cord is very delicate. So that is the reason, since these main parts are very delicate, they need the strong protection. So how the protection comes? One is the skull. If you take the case of the brain, skull and meninges, how many? Three meninges are there. One more thing is CSF. Yes, can we write this over here? Definitely. So, brain is the soft and very sensitive organ inside which it is being enclosed inside the hard bony box, that is the skull. What else does this have? It is having a cerebrospinal fluid which protects this from injuries and shocks. What else? It have three protective membranes. What are they? Dura mater, arachnoid matter, and pia mater. So see how extra protection it is having. Three things. Apart from that, skull is there, CSF is there. And what about the spinal cord? Spinal cord. We knew it is running through the back region, particularly being embedded within the vertebral column, being made of small bones, the vertebrae. They serve as a protection for the spinal cord. For brain, it is a skull. For spinal cord, it is a vertebral column. And the spinal cord is also having the fluid for reduction of the damage from the shocks. Okay, so we could find when there is a stimulus being received over here by either the brain or the spinal cord, the nerve impulse generation, now where it travels through the brain or the spinal cord, brain or spinal cord analyzes this, gives the response, right? Yes. So, how does a nerve muscle cause muscle movement? How this is created? Initially, the sense organ, the receptors being present on the sense organs, they detect the changes. This is sent to the sensory nerve. From there, it reaches the brain or the spinal cord. The brain or the spinal cord interprets, analyzes the information, sends the instruction through the motor nerve to the effector, nothing but the muscle or the gland. So the impulse is now traveling to the nerves, reaching the muscles. So as soon as there is a uptake of the information, what does the muscle do? The muscle fiber, it is responding immediately. The impulse is reaching the muscle fiber, then the muscles will be responding These muscle cells are characterized by the presence of special proteins. So, upon the contraction of these proteins, there is a change in the position. So, we can say when the proteins are moving closer, when they are shortening, when they are contracting, there is a creation of movement. It might be the movement of hands, legs, and eyelids. Okay, so now what happens with muscles? Muscles, they are changing their shape with respect to the nerve signals that they are receiving. So this is how a nerve impulse is causing a muscle movement. Now, coming to the concept of reflex action. What is reflex action? The reflex action is like quick, automatic and involuntary response of a body to a stimulus. So without conscious thinking, without any efforts of our brain, this is getting carried out, the reflex action. Okay, but before going on to the concept, give me a moment. Let me check if any question before we move, because this reflex action is very, very important. Okay, I received a question stating spinal cord being involved in reflex action instead of brain. Huh. What is the reason behind the spinal cord being involved in reflex action? Means spinal cord, the same thing that I'm about to discuss, I got that question. So the spinal cord, it is going to give a quick automatic response. Imagine the impulse from where? From the sensory nerve, it should reach the brain, from brain to the motor nerve, from motor nerve to the effector. Instructions should be sent. For carrying out of all these things, a lot of time is required. If brain is involved, imagine what might have happened. Okay, let me give a simple example. A person is about to touch a hot pan. Okay, the hot pan, the stimulus should be sent to the brain, from the brain to the motor nerve, from there to the effector, all the pathway. Once again repeat. Okay, so it takes a lot of time for our brain to interpret, analyze, take the decision, being the decision maker, sending instruction. But if it is a spinal cord without conscious control, there is a quick immediate response. If the brain is getting involved, there is some time for it to interpret the data, but by the time the damage gets worsened, if you are touching a hot object, imagine your brain is taking some time to make the decisions and you are still touching the hot object. What happens to your finger, to the skin? It gets burnt. So that's the reason the brain is not being involved, the spinal cord is being involved in carrying out the reflex action. Of course, now you can ask me a question. Ma'am, can you 100% say only the spinal cord being involved? Let me tell you, there are two kinds of reflexes, cerebral reflex and spinal reflex. I shall discuss about that soon. Okay, as of now, I got to answer the question. Now. I hope you got the answer for your question. The spinal cord being involved in reflex action instead of brain. Why? Because they give out a quick automatic involuntary response without our conscious control. Okay, so reflex. What is reflex? It is the pathway followed by the nerve impulse from receptor through the region of the effector. During a reflex action, the pathway that is being followed over here, it is called as a reflex. So what happens in reflex action? As we have seen, there is an establishment of very quick, very immediate automatic responses. Whenever there are sudden changes in the environment, imagine you are walking on the road. Okay, all of a sudden there was a sharp object. You have placed your leg on the sharp object. Immediately, what you are going to do? You are going to withdraw your leg. So, what is helping you? You are not under the conscious control of your brain. Your spinal cord is helping you to achieve that. Okay, do remember spinal cord. Suddenly step, yes, the same example. Suddenly step on a sharp object. Okay, dust is entering in your eyes. You blink. When sharp light is getting focused, you move away from that light. You are pulling your hand from the hot surface. So, in all the scenarios, your body is immediately responding. So, why do reflex actions occur so fast? The same thing that I have told now. Some situations are really very, very dangerous and very urgent. If our brain is into the picture. It is taking the decisions. It is thinking. It is analyzing, interpreting, deciding what to do. It would take more time. By the time the thing that should happen happens, of course, we will be getting damaged, right? We could get injured. So that is the reason we could find the reflex arc will be being playing a very important role. So the reflex arc being a pathway followed by the nerve impulses during a reflex action, it helps our body to respond immediately without any decision of the brain. So reflex arc, since it is being formed mainly in the spinal cord, okay, it is giving a quick decision without any conscious control. However, imagine, however, after you touch the hot object, you are withdrawing your hand, but later you will understand what has happened in that quick flash. So now your brain is getting the information of what happened. So the brain is still being informed about the worst scenarios that you are facing, what happened after the completion of the action. Okay, got it? Yes, so what will be the parts of a reflex arc? The receptor, the sensory neuron, interneuron, the motor neuron, or the effector. Interneuron, otherwise known as the relay neuron. So we could find the hot object being the stimulus. So the pain receptor in your hand, in your finger, it gets activated, sends the information to whom? To the afferent nerve, the sensory nerves. Okay, remember again, neuron corresponds for a single structural and functional unit, and nerves is a group of axons bundled together. So there is a sending of the information to the spinal cord, the reflex center. Here only relay neurons will be there. Then again the motor nerve, the effector nerve will be into the picture. So the effector, the muscle over here, it is getting immediately withdrawn. The hand withdrawal will be there. Okay, this is what happens. So now let's try to understand the difference between reflex arc and reflex action. Most of the times we club this, we intermix this, but it is the one which should not be intermixed. There is a difference. Let me tell you what is the difference. So reflex action is like quick automatic response of a body towards a stimulus. Reflex arc on the other hand, pathway. This is very very important. Reflex arc is a pathway through which during a reflex action the nerve impulse is traveling. Okay, so we can say reflex action is a activity or the response being shown by our body. On the other hand, reflex arc is a structural route being followed. So reflex action, like pulling the hand away from a hot object, blinking of eyes when dust enters, when we are stepping on a sharp object, we are immediately withdrawing our leg. That one. Whereas the reflex arc, this is a pathway now from receptor to sensory neuron, from sensory neuron to the spinal cord, to there to the motor neuron and to the effector. So, reflex action help in immediate protection from danger. Of course, the reflex arc is also the same pathway, but it is a fast transmission of nerve impulses. So, we can say reflex action is because of the nervous coordination, and because of the reflex arc only, we can make that the reflex action getting possible over here. So mainly the brain is the spinal cord is controlling the reflex action. Of course, the brain is being informed later, but reflex arc, it is a pathway where it is being formed inside the spinal cord. Okay, so types of reflexes, as I have told you, we have two types of reflexes now, the cerebral reflex and the spinal reflex. So cerebral reflex being controlled by the brain. For example, I shall tell you an example. When a light is being focused on your eyes, okay, so what you will be doing immediately, by the flash of the light, you blink your eyes, you try to close your eyes. Okay, sometimes we can say that reflex is under the control of the brain, and we could find cerebral reflexes are very rare, spinal reflexes are most common, cerebral reflexes are very rare. Okay, comparatively slower because the brain is being involved over here. The spinal reflexes controlled by the spinal cord are the very fast one. So since brain is involved, we can say that conscious thinking involves thinking center, whereas the spinal cord It does not involve thinking, unconscious. Like it's not like loss of conscious. It's like not under our conscious control. So cerebral reflex protects the sense organs and spinal reflex protects the body parts like blinking, as I have told you. When light is being focused on the eyes, we try to blink, we try to close our eyes. The same thing when dust is entering our eyes, we immediately show spinal reflexes, okay? And hand withdrawal, moving the hand away or moving the leg, pulling the leg away from the hot object or from a sharp object will be the example of the spinal reflexes. Are you clear, everyone? Yes, give me a moment. Let me check if any question further. Okay, reflex actions, why they are being considered to be the protective responses. See, why is so simple now? Why? Because the reflex action, what they are meant for, they are giving a quick, immediate, automatic response to protect us from the danger. Touching a hot object, immediate withdrawal of our hand, protection of our hand from further damage or further injury. That is useful for us. Trying to walk on the road, came across a sharp object, leg immediately withdrawn, protection of the leg. So we can say reflex actions are considered to be the protective ones. Okay, now? So yes, so far we have been discussing a lot number of things. Finally, we are at the end of today's discussion. So far what we have been discussing, students, we understood regarding the introduction. We have seen the control and coordination, how it is being watered by two systems, nervous system and endocrine system, followed by the sense organs and the receptors. So what we have learned there, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin are the sense organs, gustatory, olfactory receptors, phonoreceptors, photoreceptors, all these are the receptors. Then human nervous system and the organs, we came across the central nervous system comprising of brain and spinal cord. We understood the parts and functions of the brain. Forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. We got across the spinal cord. We have seen the nerves arising from the brain and the spinal cord comprise the peripheral nervous system. So we have seen the parts and functions of the PNS. Again, segregation. Somatic nervous system, autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic systems. Okay, all the segregations. So parts and functions of the peripheral nervous system we have seen. Half the brain and the spinal cord are getting protected by the presence of a fluid, by the presence of meninges, spinal cord being present in the vertebral column, brain being present within the region of skull, the heart bony box. Finally, the reflex action and the reflex act followed by cerebral and the spinal reflexes. Let me tell you once again, cerebral reflexes are very rare in occurrence, spinal reflexes are the most common because the spinal cord gives a quick automatic response without the conscious control. Later, of course, the brain is getting informed over here. In today's discussion, we shall be understanding about control and coordination, and majorly we shall be focusing on the topics of endocrine system with respect to the hormones in animals, with respect to the hormones in human beings, how they will be playing a very important role in bringing out the control and coordination we shall discuss. Okay, so we shall be understanding about the introduction to the hormones in animals. Particularly, we shall be understanding about the types of glands regarding the endocrine system, and followed by we shall be understanding about the coordination in plants. Majorly, we will be focusing on the tropic movements and the nastic movements, and yes, phytohormones are also equally important. We shall be discussing about the phytohormones, nothing but the plant hormones. So this will be the topic of discussion. Now, tell me, shall we go into the discussion? Are you all ready? Yes? Definitely. Okay. Now, let's see regarding the hormones in animals. In the previous discussions, we learned that the nervous system plays a very important role in giving out various pathways with respect to our body. Yes, so for signal transmissions, for coordinating movements, for coordinating various voluntary and involuntary activities, for memory, cognition, thinking, analysis, interpretation, So for all these things, our nervous system will be playing a very, very important role. So apart from the nervous system, what else is responsible? Means it is the hormonal system, and particularly the hormones are the substances which will be giving a response. Okay, so we can say the hormones in animals, this is like a chemical method of control. So the previous one was nerve impulse transmission, nerve impulse propagation, right? So nerve impulse generation, transmission, there is a propagation of nerve impulse, and the signal transduction, or we can say the signal transmission will be there, whereby we have seen the response being produced. So in these hormonal systems, we have this being the chemical method of control. So when it is being required, it is being required particularly when we need to respond quickly and we need to deal with stressful situations. Okay, so now you are walking on the road, all of a sudden from nowhere you have seen a dog running towards you. Then what you are going to do? Either you will be showing a fight or flight responses there. The sympathetic system gets activated, releases adrenaline, which is a hormone, right? So the adrenaline being released from the adrenal glands being situated on the top of the kidneys. So there is a release of hormone, and this gives you the capacity, a state of alertness for you to either fly from that situation or fight with the situation, right? So when the body needs to respond very quickly and very efficiently, when the body needs to deal with certain stressful situations, we could take the help of the hormones which will be helping us. Okay, so not only stressful situations, it can be normal metabolic activities or normal physiological process, normal biological functions, anything it can be. For suppose, okay, we are eating food, and how our glucose level in the blood is getting controlled? With the help of insulin being secreted by whom? By the pancreas. Yes. So we can say the hormones are trying to elicit a specific response. It depends upon the types of hormones that are being present. Now coming to the glands, we have two type of glands over here, the exocrine gland and endocrine gland. So glands, they will be giving out the secretions, and based upon where the secretions is being released, where it is acting upon, we have two categories, the exocrine and the endocrine gland. So the exocrine glands, they have the ducts. Okay, so these exocrine glands, they are having the secretions, and they release the secretions. It might be the saliva, sweat, and some of the digestive juices. So who will be secreting the saliva? The salivary glands present in the buccal cavity. Yes or no? Sublingual, parotid, submandibular glands. The salivary glands present in the mouth secrete the saliva. It is an exocrine gland. Sweat glands, they are also exocrine glands, and where they release the secretions into the ducts. Okay, so now think of the other category. This is saying they have ducts, they have the secretion released into the ducts. Then what about the other category, endocrine glands? What about them? What do you think? They release the secretions into the bloodstream. So let's see about the endocrine glands. The endocrine glands are not having any kind of ducts. So they are called as ductless glands, and they release the secretions, nothing but the hormones, directly into the bloodstream. Okay, what are they? We have various examples like pituitary gland, thyroid, and pancreas. Okay, so endocrine glands, you might have a question like pancreas, it is being present under endocrine, then what about it? Okay, I'll tell you. Sometimes we have glands with dual functions. A gland is having both the endocrine and exocrine function. We are going to call them as a mixed gland like our pancreas, which is a mixed gland. It is having both endocrine nature as well as exocrine nature. Endocrine is when it releases the insulin into the blood, it is releasing, not into the duct. That is what making it to be endocrine. The next, it is exocrine because there is a release of certain digestive enzymes into the region of intestine. Where you have heard this concept, the pancreatic juices, in the first chapter, the nutrition topic of life processes. So there we have seen the small intestine region is receiving the enzymes from various glands. The pancreatic juices are entering in the intestinal regions and responsible for digestion of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. So carbohydrate into simple carbohydrate, proteins into amino acids, fats into fatty acids and cholesterol, the digestion being carried out by pancreatic enzymes. So the exocrine function is where it is releasing the digestive enzymes into the intestine. Whereas endocrine function, when it is releasing insulin into the blood. So apart from pancreas, do you think, students, do we have any other kind of mixed gland like this as pancreas? Any other? Yes, we have a lot. Think of it. Okay, so now let me introduce you to the endocrine system. So what is an endocrine system? Endocrine system is nothing but a group of endocrine glands. They together are working so that there is a regulation of body functions, and what they are using, mainly the hormones. Okay, so this is so important. Whenever we are associated with endocrine system or endocrine glands, we have to just remember that they are the ones which are associated with the hormones, and this hormonal method is nothing but the chemical control. Okay, so one is the neural control that we have seen earlier by the neuron pathways. Next is the chemical control. This is with the help of whom? The endocrine system. Now moving on, what might be the role of the endocrine system then? Of course, we have known the endocrine system will be releasing the hormones. The hormones will regulate the various body functions. But what are the body functions being regulated by the hormones, by the endocrine system? So what will be the role of the endocrine system? What does it do? It is controlling the growth. Okay, it is also controlling various metabolic pathways which are occurring within us. Metabolism, reproduction. It is also a controller of reproduction. Do you remember in your earlier grades, you have understood the reaching of age of adolescence chapter. So there in biology, you are having this chapter. You have understood when the secondary sexual characters are being attained and when puberty hits, what happens? What are the changes getting produced within our body? So all that changes, how they happen, the development of reproductive organs with the help of hormones, right? Hormonal action will also be there over there. So we can say the endocrine system will also helpful for the reproduction, and it is also the one which regulates the emotions. Okay, so in case of neural control, neuronal actions, we can see there is a quick, immediate responses. But the hormonal control, it is producing slow effect, but the effect will be long lasting. Okay, it might be slow, but the effect is long lasting effect. Now, coming to the hormones. So what are hormones? Hormones are the chemical messengers being released in very tiny quantities. Okay. See, I shall give you one example. We are preparing nice food item, and in that food item, how much amount of salt we are going to add? Only little. Yes. Not major quantities or bulky portions. Why? Because it ruins our dish. The small quantity of salt adds up to the taste of the big dish. Yes? Do you all agree? Similarly, even though the hormones are in small amounts, they will be helpful for giving out their actions. So what they will be doing? They will be controlling and coordinating various activities. What happens if the hormonal levels are high? Definitely imbalances or harmful effects will be seen. Okay, got it everyone? Now, main characters of hormones. Hormones being released by the glands, particularly the endocrine glands. All the glands will be making up the endocrine system. Okay. Now, what will be the main characters of the hormones? Definitely we know, as of now, we knew that they are being secreted by the endocrine glands. Okay, so what does the definition of endocrine gland tell us? It will be having its secretions being released into the bloodstream. Okay, we can say, we can add this point. Hormones are the ones which are released directly where into the bloodstream, and when they reach a specific organ, it is not like they are going to act on all the things. There will be some specificity. Okay. For suppose, you are boarding on different buses of different routes. There will be a specific route number for bus. If you wanted to go to a particular area, you are going to board on that particular route number only. You are not going to get for the other bus number. Similarly, there are some specific target organs on which the hormone is acting. It is not like it is going to go in all the way. Okay, even though imagine if you wanted to go to a place. Okay, you have inquired for the route number, you have gone to a particular area where all the buses are present. So when you entered, you are asking for whether this route number is going to that place or not. Yes or no? So you will be cross confirming, you will be understanding, and if it is not the particular route number, you go in search of the other route number which specifies your location, the location of your choice. So similar manner, we can say, even though they are getting released into the blood, even though they are reaching each and every systems, for suppose, they will be acting only on the target organs where they are specified to act, not at all on the other things. So even though they are having a small quantity, they are producing a large effects, even though they are getting, being released in a very slow manner. The action might be slow, it might take some time, but we can say they are having long lasting effect. Okay, for suppose we have eaten enough meal. The meal was very good, very nutritious, very balanced, right? We have taken it, and now what our pancreas secreting insulin is doing, the insulin is trying to control our blood glucose levels. Okay, so it is acting in a slow manner, but we can say it is providing a long lasting effect. Yes, definitely. Now, why hormones are being called as chemical messengers? The question being answered. Why the hormones? Because the hormones being produced in one part of the body, there is a specificity for the production. For suppose, thyroid gland produces thyroxine. Okay, testis, which is a gland, it is producing the male hormone testosterone. Like that, there is a specificity and there is a production of the hormone in one part of the body. There is a traveling of this hormone, the transportation occurs through blood, and it is acting on a different part. So upon what it is acting? It is acting on the target tissue. Okay, now what it is doing, we can say from one part to a different part. Means it is carrying messages, it is responsible for carrying messages. The ones which are responsible for carrying messages, what we can call them to be? The messenger. Yeah, now that's the reason, since they are chemicals, they carry the messages from one part to the other part. They are called as the chemical messengers. Okay. Now, coming to the endocrine glands, the major endocrine glands with respect to the human body. This is what is important as per our standards. So, we have the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland. And what else do we have? We have thymus, pancreas, adrenal glands, the testes being present only in males. Okay, so this is a cautionary statement, only in males the testes is present, and in ovaries being present in only in females. These are the major endocrine glands in humans. So now let's try to understand, students, regarding these endocrine glands and where they are being present, what is the function of them. Okay, see the endocrine glands, where they are present in the brain. What glands we can observe? Pineal gland, hypothalamus, and the pituitary gland. Right below the hypothalamus we can see the pineal gland and the pituitary gland over here. And what else we have? The thyroid gland, the thymus gland, adrenal gland, the pancreas, testes with respect to the male, and ovaries with respect to the female. This is what we can observe in our endocrine system. So adding a discussion of this thing, hypothalamus, where it is present in the region of the forebrain below the thalamus. So what it is being responsible for? Various hormone secretions, like various releasing and inhibiting hormones will be there, ADH, oxytocin. Okay, I'm not going much into details, just for the information sake I have placed this. So what will be the main function? It is controlling the pituitary, whereby it is helping for maintaining the homeostasis, like temperature, hunger, thirst, all the things will be under the control of this hypothalamus, being it is a part of the brain, and it also have the secretions, and we can say it is connecting, acting as a connecting link between the nervous system and endocrine system. You might have a question, ma'am, hypothalamus is a part of the brain, but how we can get connected? Yes, of course. Here we can say that this is also having a function of endocrine gland. It is like a nervous system and endocrine system coordinator. That's why we have clearly mentioned it. It is acting as link between nervous system and endocrine system. So what will be the special mean? It is a link between the nervous system and the endocrine system. We can say this is a special thing about the hypothalamus. The speciality is being part of both nervous system and endocrine system. Next, what we have? The pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is very important. Why? Because it is being considered to be the master gland of our body, because under this pituitary gland only all the other endocrine glands are having their function. So pituitary gland is like coordinator of all the other endocrine glands. So where it is located? The base of the brain, below whom? Below hypothalamus. So what are the hormones? So it secretes the growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, antidiuretic, and oxytocin. All are under the control of whom? Under the pituitary gland. Okay, so what it does? It controls the growth and other endocrine glands, and it is only having the endocrine function, no nervous system link, because it is the master gland of the endocrine glands. Moving on, pineal gland, between the hemispheres we could find deep within the brain, and it secretes melatonin, which regulates the sleep and wake cycle as well as the biological clock. Okay, so it is acting as a endocrine system linkage will be there, only the endocrine, not the neuronal link, and it is a biological clock gland, the special name for it. The thyroid gland, it is being present within the neck region, in the throat region, in front of the windpipe, and it is secreting the thyroxine. Generally, we will be seeing in the television ads now, like our salt contains iodine. Why iodine is required? Why we have to take iodized salt? Because iodine is responsible for making of the Thyroxine. It is one of the key ingredient in thyroxine production. So that is the reason we are always advised to take the iodine, iodized salt, not the iodine in the raw form. We have to take in minute quantity, and that too salt having the iodized iodine in it, it will be helping us. Okay, so what happens if there is no proper thyroxine production? Definitely, malfunction will be there. Enlargement of thyroid gland might be there. Malfunctions might be there. Swelling of neck, goiter might also occur. Okay, so what it functions? It regulates the metabolism. It regulates the growth and energy release. So it is having endocrine nature, being called as a metabolic gland because it is mainly involved in the metabolic functions only. Now next we have the parathyroid gland being situated on the top of the thyroid gland, produces parath hormone, and the main function is calcium and phosphate balance. It is also having endocrine linkage, and the calcium balance gland is its special name. Moving on, thymus in the upper chest region behind the breastbone. We can see thymus, which secretes the thymosin, and it is responsible for developing immunity. The immune cells, the maturation happens over here, and now it is having the dual function of both endocrine and immune system, being called as a immunity gland because it is leading to the maturation of the immune cells. So pancreas, where pancreas is there? Now you need to tell me, because since we discussed in the nutrition chapter, we knew below the region of the stomach, the major secretion is the insulin. The insulin is regulating the blood glucose level. The elevated blood glucose level should be within the control, and this is being done by the insulin. And we have one more hormone, glucagon. If the sugar levels are below the normal, this elevates up to the balanced level. Okay, so we can say that they are having the endocrine and digestive functions. Why endocrine? Because the insulin secretion and digestive juices are also being produced from the pancreas. The digestive juices, exocrine function, and what they are helping with? They are helping with the digestion process, and that's the reason we can call this pancreas also as a mixed gland. Now coming to the adrenal glands being situated on the top of the kidneys, secreting adrenaline. It is like a fight or the flight hormone. Why? Because it is preparing our body for certain situations which are not meant for us to happen. Okay, now it is giving out preparation of the body for emergency and stress response, and we can say it is an emergency gland having an endocrine function. So the previous discussion was about the endocrine system, the endocrine glands and the hormones that are being secreted by the endocrine glands. So now we were discussing regarding the main endocrine glands, and we could see testis is an endocrine gland. Particularly this is the one pertaining to males, and this will be located within the scrotal sacs. So what is a hormone being secreted? Of course, it is the testosterone, which is responsible for the development of male characters, the secondary sexual characters, as well as the formation of the sperms. So it is acting as a link, a bridge between the endocrine system and the reproductive system, and it is also being called as a male sex gland. On the other hand, we have ovaries in females being situated within the pelvic region, and the hormones being secreted, the progesterone, estrogen, which are particularly helping for female characteristics, the secondary sexual characteristics, development, attainment of sexual maturity, and yes, the menstrual cycle, the start of menstruation, pregnancy related, all this will be under the control of these. And the system is acting as a link between the endocrine and the reproductive system, and what we can call it to be the ovaries or the female sex glands. Okay, so far what we were discussing, we have been understanding about the endocrine system, right? Now let's try to understand the nervous system and endocrine system, how they are being different and how they are performing their individual functions. Okay, so far we are into the discussion of the nervous system and followed by the endocrine system. Let's compare them side by side. So we are having certain bases for our comparison. Of course, some basis should be there. Without the basis, we can never compare anything. No? So what is the basis? It might be the type of message, the mode of transport, or the speed of action. It can be the duration of effect, the area of action or the control type, and the main organ involved. Finally, with the examples, we shall be considering with respect to these features or these parameters, both the systems will be enough compared. Let's start with the nervous system. So what will be the type of message? It is in the form of electrical impulses. The nerve impulse transmission will be there now. Whereas in case of endocrine system, the chemical messengers. Who are the chemical messengers? Hormones are the chemical messengers. Now, mode of transport is through nerve fibers in the nervous system. And what will be? For endocrine system, the endocrine glands release their secretions into the blood. We can say the blood is acting as a transportation system. Coming to the speed of action, very fast because it is involving the electrical impulses, whereas endocrine system is slow, but we can say it is long lasting when compared with that of the nervous system. Nervous system is short. It lasts for only a short period of time. Area of action, the nervous system acts on specific organs. We are calling them as effectors. Whereas the endocrine system is having specific targets. They are acting on the target organs throughout the body. They are having the receptors onto which the hormones act. And whenever the hormone is having the interaction with that particular target receptor, then only the hormone is exhibiting a response, otherwise it does not. Okay, so the control type in nervous system is voluntary, involuntary, but endocrine system, it is always involuntary because it is not under our control. Okay, insulin secretion from pancreas, is it under our control? No. Thyroxine secretion, is it under our control? No. Right? So we can say it is involuntary. And the nervous system, main organs being the central nervous system comprising of brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system comprising of nerves arising from brain and spinal cord. So on the other hand, the endocrine system is corresponding for having the endocrine glands. So examples, we can take a lot number of examples. It's not necessary that we just need to mention only few. Okay, like pulling the hand away from a hot surface, or that is a concept of reflex action again, or blinking of our eyes, talking, moving, showing some voluntary actions, having internal movements which are involuntary, digestion, heartbeat, respiration. Okay, so we have a lot of things which are under neuronal control, whereas the endocrine system corresponds for showing some growth related, puberty related, metabolic activities. So all this will be under the control of the endocrine system. Now we have understood the nervous system, the endocrine system. Now yes, let's take into the concept of feedback mechanism. Okay, so let's take an example. We have taken food and the blood glucose levels are elevated now because food have reached. Now what should happen? Pancreas should secrete insulin. Insulin will be controlling the blood glucose. Okay, so insulin production have started. What if the insulin production have continued as such and there is an increased action of insulin? What happens then? Blood glucose level will be going low. Of course, at one point they will be at the normal level, but if that is not stopped, if the insulin secretion is not stopped, the blood glucose levels are going to drop down, right? So now, who will be telling to stop the insulin production then? Who will say to the pancreas to stop the insulin production? Who will say that the blood glucose levels are normalized? We have a feedback mechanism for the same. It is like a self-regulatory process, okay, by which the endocrine glands, they are having a control of the hormone levels in the body. So what happens if the hormone levels are not controlled? What happens if thyroxine levels are elevated? Definitely they leads to some disastrous effects. What happens if sex hormones levels are elevated? Of course that also creates some issues within our biological systems, right? So the feedback mechanisms are ensuring that the hormonal release will be there at the right time, at the right place, and the right amount. The right time, the right place, the right amount, so that overall a balance is being created. Okay? Yes? Are you understanding the concept about feedback mechanism? Definitely. Now, let's move on. Okay, since we have already taken 2 minutes break previously when we are having the technical issues, we shall continue the session. Okay, no break as of now. We shall continue because our break time was finished over there. So, meanwhile, let me check if any questions and let me address them. Okay, so a question: what's going to happen if pituitary gland is releasing excess growth hormone? Simple thing. Growth hormone, it corresponds for increase in the growth, right? Growth and developmental activities. So, whenever there is an increase beyond the normal levels, definitely it leads to an effect called as gigantism or gigantism. You can spell it in the any way. I'll just write the spelling. So it is, if it is happening, if the growth hormone levels are elevated at the very childhood levels, so this occurs. If it is the same scenario during adulthood, then there is a condition which is called as acromegaly. Acromegaly means there is an enlargement of hands, feet, and even the face. Okay, I hope your question got clear. Okay, so one more question. Excess secretion of adrenaline is not occurring very continuously. So why might be the reason? What might be the reason behind the same? Okay, excessive secretion of adrenaline, it is not occurring continuously. Why? Because see, adrenaline is getting released when there is a um, when there is, like we can say, a reason for creation of alertness. When a dog is barking and coming near us, or when we have come across some dangerous situations, what happens? Our body is releasing adrenaline so that our body gets prepared for the emergency situations and getting prepared for the fight or the flight responses. Okay, so because of which, what happens? There is an increase in the blood pressure, increase in the heartbeat, and whenever we are having the adrenaline release, definitely there comes the immediate next moment when the hormone levels should get normalized. Okay, adrenaline is making the person to stay on high alert. But when this is not happening, when the adrenaline release is getting continued like that, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased breathing rate, do you think it should be there for higher amount of time? No, it create health effects. So that is the reason adrenaline, it is being released whenever required. The action gets completed and the levels of the hormones will be getting subsided. Like it does not elevate. It is getting secreted or produced whenever we require it. Okay, not all the times. So that's the reason it should not be produced continuously. So now moving on, let's enter into the concept of coordination with respect to the plants. Not only the animals, even plants are also the living beings, and plants require coordination as such. Okay, so the plants are responding to the stimuli, the external stimuli, with respect to two different ways. What are they? First is movement without growth, and second is movement with growth. Some are related to growth, some are not related to growth. Then what about the movement that are related over here? Let's see the movement without growth first. Okay, so some plant movements, they happen really very quick and they are not having any involvement of the growth in them. Okay, so touch me not plant, Mimosa pudica. When you touch it, what happens? The leaf immediately droop. The leaves are folding, the leaf are drooping. Why? In order to protect themselves. That is like a protective response for them. So, is it related to growth? No, it's not related to growth. Definitely, we can say that there are some movements where growth is not the main factor that are guiding them. There are movements which occur without growth also. So, some plant movements are very quick and they are not involving growth. So, touching the leaves of the touch me not plant, the leaves are folding and drooping immediately. The leaves fold and the leaves droop immediately. Yes, do you all agree? Huh. Now, we could see why this is happening in the touch me not plant. What happens inside it? Okay, we are saying it is not without growth. Then what is the guiding factor that is driving it? Okay, whenever there is a touching sensation being felt by the plant, what happens? There is a sudden change in the water pressure inside the cells. Because of this sudden change in the water pressure inside the cells, there is a closing. The leaves will be folded, the leaves will be drooping immediately. Okay, so do you see any new cells, any growth parameters being involved over here? No growth parameters, only the physical thing of folding of the leaf, the drooping of the leaf. So since no new cells are being formed, we can say this movement is temporary and it is reversible because it is the movement without growth. Okay, but on the other hand, there are few other plant movements which are very slow, but they are dependent upon the growth. For example, we have planted a seed is germinating, it puts out the root system, it puts out the shoot system. So it is growing towards the sunlight, the shoot grows towards the sunlight, the root grows towards the earth. Why? The root require water. In search of water, it will be moving. Means it is showing a movement which is related to growth so that the root can fetch the water from the soil. Similarly, the shoot requires sunlight. The shoot is moving upwards. Why? It should get the food through photosynthesis process, and sunlight is the ultimate source of light energy. So that's the reason there is a growth of the shoot towards whom? Towards the sunlight. Okay, so we can say there are some movements even with growth, the movements which are associated with the growth. So as I have told you, when a seed is germinating, what happens? The root is grown downward into the soil and the shoot, it is getting grown upward within the air at different rates, different parts of the plant, nothing but the root system and the shoot system, they are showing some responses to changes within the environment. They have differences in the rate of their growth, the growth rate with respect to the responses they are showing towards the gravity or towards the light. So when the growth is completely getting stopped, do you think they will be penetrating into the soil or they will be moved towards the sunlight? No. So we can say when the growth is being stopped, this kind of movement which is employing growth as its parameter, they will not be occurring anymore. So thereby we can say these are permanent and irreversible. So now did you get the difference? Movement with growth, it is permanent and irreversible. Movement without growth, what it is? It is temporary and reversible. Okay, now coming to two types of movements, the growth independent movements and the growth dependent movements. So what does the term growth independent correspond for? We can easily say by saying this, it is not depending upon the growth, no growth being involved. So we can say these are fast and temporary movements where there is no growth being involved. The same thing which we discussed earlier, the things only we have just renamed it. That's it, no new topic over here. Now the growth dependent movement, it is on the other hand slow and it is being permanent, which is caused by the growth. Now we have the coordination within the plants with respect to the plants we are discussing, right? Immediate response to the stimuli. How a plant immediately responds to a particular stimulus. Some plant movements, they are slow. Some plant movements are very fast. Like the ones which are growth related, they occur slow. They are not like they will be very quick. For suppose, let's take the seed germinating. The seed is giving the root system, shoot system after germination. The slow movement, the slow penetration of root towards the soil, the slow movement of shoot towards the upper side, towards the sunlight will be there. It's not like they are happening over a overnight period. They take some time. It requires some time. So what we can say, some plant movements are not fast, not quick, whereas some plant movements which are very quick are not corresponding for growth. So we can say the immediate response to the stimuli with respect to plants, like touch me not plant, when we are touching it, what happens? There is immediate folding or drooping of the leaf. How we can say this is happening very quickly because of changes within water pressure inside the cells, and they are not involving growth. The Mimosa pudica plant, the touch me not plant, when the leaves are being touched, there is a immediate, very immediate folding and drooping of the leaf. So we can say the plants are responding to the stimulus using some signals over here. What are those? Using some electrochemical signals and with the help of water movements within the cells. Are you able to understand? Now, movement due to growth. Sometimes we can see the movement even due to growth. One example we have taken, the seed germination, putting root and shoot system out. One more example, we can take that of the pea plants. What does a pea plant do? Pea plant, it is a climber or creeper. It is a climber. What does it do? It take the help of the support. It climbs with the help of the support, right? So it is using very thin thread like paths, and these are called as tendrils. With the help of tendrils, they are holding to the support system. So there are many plants where the responses to stimulus happens. So we can say the pea plant having the tendril, it should move towards the support. It should take in the support, support's help, and it should be growing up. It will be climbing, right? So similarly, there are many plants. There are many examples, many scenarios. So what we can say, many plants are responding to stimuli, and the stimuli from the environment will be diverse and various. It can be either light, water, touch. Okay, they happen slowly, and particularly they are involving the growth within a particular direction. Okay, so the coordination in plants, movement with respect to growth, movement without involvement of the growth. Okay, so now let's enter into the tropisms. Now we can say that tropism or tropic movement. It is like directional response of a plant, particularly during the growth and in response to external stimulus. Okay, so when a plant part is growing with respect to the external stimulus, such kinds of movement, what we are calling them? We are calling them as a tropisms, or otherwise we are calling them as tropic movement. Okay, so here, since we are describing them to be the directional movement of the plant, the direction of the stimulus, it is deciding the direction of movement of the plant. Let me tell you one simple example. We have a plant. Okay, we have sunlight. Now, the shoot system, it should move towards the sunlight. Means the stimulus, take the sunlight as your stimulus. The shoot system, it will be growing towards the sunlight. Means the direction of the sun is determining the direction of growth of a particular plant part. So this is the same thing. In tropisms, the direction of the stimulus is determining the direction of movement of the plant part. So we are having large number of stimulus, and we can say this as positive or negative. Okay, so how positive and how negative? If imagine the shoot system, it is moving towards the sunlight. It is showing a positive nature, means the stimulus is making the shoot system, the stimulus of sunlight is making the shoot system to grow towards it. Okay, what if it is the other scenario? What if the shoot is not going to grow towards the region of the sunlight? It will be negative thing, right? So negative is also sometimes useful only. How? We have the root system. Okay, away from the sunlight means into the ground it is growing, means that is negative. But is it still useful? Definitely it is still useful. So we can say the tropisms, which are the directional movement in plants, we have them to be two types, the positive and the negative tropisms. So what is a positive tropism? A plant part is growing towards the stimulus. Towards the stimulus is the positivity. Away from the stimulus, it will be the negativity. Getting the point, everyone? Towards the stimulus and away from the stimulus. Now, coming to the type of tropisms, the stimulus that are present, based upon the type of stimulus, we have the type of tropisms. If the stimulus is light, remember, photosynthesis. Photo corresponds for light. Synthesis corresponds for putting together. Similarly, what we can give over here? Phototropism. Tropisms means directional movement of plants. Yes. So phototropism means the stimulus is light, and if the stimulus is gravity, it is called as geotropism. What else we can say? If it is water, it is called as hydrotropism. If it is touch, the sensation of touch, as in case of various conditions, the touch me not plant. Okay, so we can say the thigmotropism. The chemicals, if the sensation is chemicals, we can say it is the chemotropism. Are you getting, everyone? Yes, so the type of tropism and the stimulus which is associated with it. Okay, let's see the coordination plants. Let's see the phototropism, the thigmotropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, all the things in detail. So the first thing is the phototropism, the response of the plant towards the light. So what our plant does to get the maximum sunlight, definitely we can see that the shoot system is growing towards the source of the sunlight. So we can see to get the maximum sunlight, the plant stem is growing towards the source of light, and this kind of growth response, the tropic response of plant towards the light is being called as phototropism, and auxins are the plant hormones which play a very important role in creating this phototropism. Okay, so the stem growing towards the life, what it is positive phototropism, and the roots growing away from the light, they do not require the light, we can consider to be the negative phototropism. Okay, moving on. Response of plants towards the gravity, what we can call them to be the geotropism. So the growth response of plants towards the gravity is called as geotropism. We are also having the other name for it, where we are calling it as a gravitropism. So here we can say the roots are growing downwards to the gravity, which corresponds for positive geotropism. And yes, now we can take the reverse of what happens in the phototropism. The stems are growing upward away from the gravity. We can take it as a negative geotropism. So simple and so easy to remember, right? Now, the roots are growing downward. Why? The question why can be answered by taking the absorption of water as well as the absorption of minerals. By taking these factors into consideration, we can say the roots are always growing downward. Why the stem grow upward? To receive the light energy, sunlight, so that they can perform the photosynthesis and they can get their own food material. Okay, now there are certain experiments showing geotropism. Now we can take a potted plant. A potted plant can be kept horizontally. Now what we can observe, after a few days, the roots are bending downward and the stem will be bending upward. Remember, we are keeping the plant horizontally. When we keep the plant horizontally, what happens? The shoot tries to grow towards the sunlight region, and the root system tries to move towards the earth, towards the gravity. So after few days, the stem is bending upward and the roots are bending downward. So this is stating that roots and stems, they are having differences in their responses with respect to the gravity. So this is about the gravitropism or the geotropism. Now moving on. The chemotropism is where the plants are going to show responses towards the chemicals. So the growth movement of plant in response to the chemical substance is called as chemotropism. So where we can find it? We can find it with respect to the reproduction in the flowering plants. So there we can say the male reproductive part, the female reproductive part being present within a flower, right? So what are they? Stigma, style and ovaries are the female parts. Anther and filament are the male part. Male parts, the anther produces the male gamete. Female part, the stigma, style and ovary produces the female eggs. So now the stigma is releasing some certain chemical substances. Why? Whenever a pollination have happened, there should be fertilizations now. The male and the female gamete should get fused. So now the stigma of the female part, it is releasing a chemical substances. So what these chemical substances are doing, they are guiding the pollen tube containing the male nuclei. Two male nuclei will be there over here. So to grow towards the region of ovule, inside the ovary, small chambers like structures will be there, small parts which are called as ovules, inside which the eggs will be there. Okay, so there should be fusion of male and the female gamete. The fertilization should happen, for which the chemotropism will be playing a very essential role. And the chemicals are guiding the pollen tube to grow towards the region of the ovule, and this will be ensuring fertilization to happen properly, perfectly. So now coming to the response of plants towards the water, what we can call it to be? We can call it to be as a hydrotropism. So the growth movement of plant with respect to response to water is called as hydrotropism, where we can say that the roots always grow towards the water, and we can find the roots in the previous experiment we have seen, they grow towards the gravity. Then we are keeping the potted plant horizontally. The shoot grows up, the root grows down. So even if it is bending sideways or even if it is against the gravity, the root system are always meant for grabbing water, because their main function is only the same. In transportation chapter we have learned this. The main function of root system is to absorb minerals and water. So in order to have that efficiency, they can go to any extent. Okay. So if one side of the soil is moist and the other side is dry, what do the root generally do? The root bends towards the moist side, and we can say that this is exhibiting positively hydrotropic nature. Okay. Now, response of plants to the touch, nothing but the thigmotropism. The growth movement of plant, particularly the one which is related to touch, is a thigmotropism. Okay, so tendrils and thigmotropism. One question I wanted to ask you. With respect to thigmotropism, can we take touch me not plant as an example? Do you agree if I take touch me not plant as an example over here? Yes. Now you will say, no, it is absolutely not possible. Why? Because it is not associated with growth. The one which we are discussing now about are the ones which are associated with the growth. So now the tendrils and the thigmotropism, some plants will be having weak stems and they are called as climbers or creepers. They cannot stand upright. Creepers creep on the ground, climbers climb with the help of support. So some plants which are having weak stems and cannot stand upright, they will be having special climbing organs, and yes, we can say that tendrils. So what do they tend to have? They have the tendrils. Tendrils are very thin and thread like, something like this we can find the tendril, and they are very sensitive to touch. When they are touching a support, they tend to coil around it, so thereby it will be helpful for the plant to climb and to get the sunlight and the required parameters. Example, we can have a lot number: bottle gourd, bitter gourd, rich gourd. Yes, many of you are having some answers related to the gourds over here. Now, tendrils, what they are showing, tendrils are showing the nature of positive thigmotropism because they are sensitive to touch. Okay, so type of tendrils, again, the ones which we have stem tendrils, leaf tendrils are also there. So stem tendrils arise from the stem, and leaf tendrils, from where they arise from the leaf. So it can be either the stem tendril or it can be a leaf tendril. Both will be helping the plant to take up the help of the support and to move on. Now, importance of tropic movement in plants. Why it is necessary to have tropic movements? Why? Because they are essential for helping the plant to respond to environmental stimulus. So, what is happening in the surroundings? What are the changes that are occurring within our surroundings? It might be light, heat, it might be gravity, it might be water, chemicals, or the sensation of touch. So, the importance of tropic movement is that it is enabling or helping the plant to respond properly to these environmental stimuli. So apart from it, it is also giving a factor essential for the growth, for the survival, for the reproduction, and for the overall development of a plant. This will be the importance of tropic movements in plants. So far we understood about the tropic movements, which are the directional movement of plants. Now, there are some movements which does not depend upon the direction of the stimulus. What are they? They are called as nastic movements. Okay, so nastic movements are where the movements are not being dependent upon the direction of the stimulus. So, if you could see, what does the definition actually mean? Let me tell you, it is a movement of a plant, particularly a part which is associated with plant with respect to some stimuli. Okay, so the stimuli, this movement is happening without any relation to the direction from which the stimulus comes. Okay, for example, touch me not plant is there, you are touching and it is folding its leaf. So we can say there is a movement of plant part in response to stimulus. The stimulus was there. Okay, there is no relation to the direction from which the stimulus comes. There is no relation to that. Now, if you could find the key features of nastic movements, what will be the key features? The direction of movement being independent of direction of stimulus. So there is no dependency over here, completely independent. When compared with that of the tropic movements, these are very fast. Touch nut plant immediately droops its leaf. Why? It is very fast and showing it movement. And how it is being caused? Mostly when there is changes in the turgor pressure, when there is water movement within the cells, this will be happening and they are not at all related to growth. And we can say they are temporary and they are reversible often, not most of the times. Okay. Now, the tropic and the nastic movements. Let's try to compare them. What is the comparison between both of them? The tropic movement, the direction depends upon the stimulus. The nastic movement, the direction, it is not depending upon the stimulus. Tropic movement is growth based. Nastic movement is not growth based. Tropic movement is slow. Nastic is fast. Tropic is permanent and nastic is temporary. So we can say in case of tropic movement, stem bending towards the light is an example of tropic, and nastic movement, the closing of leaf on touch. It is an example of a nastic movement. Okay. Now, moving on, let's take into consideration the type of nastic movements. Okay. So here we have the first one, which is the thigmonasty, which corresponds for response to touch. It can be touch or it can be a mechanical stimulus. So the leaves of touch me not plant, the same that we were discussing, which is having a drooping or folding of the leaf. So when it is being touched, there is a folding or drooping of the leaf inward. And why this is happening? There is a loss of water from the cells. And because of loss of water, there is a drooping. The mimosa pudica, it will be showing drooping or folding of the leaf. Why? Because it is exhibiting a thick monasty, which here corresponds for response to touch. Moving on, photonasty. What is photonasty? This is being caused by light. The term photo itself is indicating light. So photonasty is caused by light. During the daytime, some flowers will be opening. Okay, and at night they will be closing. And they are not depending upon the direction of light, but what they do depend upon, they depend upon the presence of light. Okay, moving on, thermonasty, which is giving a response to change in temperature. So tulips, which are beautiful flowers, generally they open in warm conditions, and when it is cold they get closed, right? So we can say them as a thermonasty. So types of nastic movement, we have seen photonasty, thermonasty, and what else? Photonasty. What is the importance of nastic movements then? What will be the functioning of it? Tropic movements, of course, they are direction related and they will be playing a very important role. But here, what is the function of them? They are protecting the plants from injury, and there is a reduction of water loss. So, for flowers to open and close at proper times, this nastic movements during the daytime, we have seen some flowers open during night, daytime, some get closed during night, like that. Okay, so against the grazing animals, there is a defense, like touch me not plant drooping its leaf when there is a sensation of touch. Definitely, now we can see there is a nastic movement which helps the plant even. Now coming to the phytohormones. So the coordination with respect to the plant is also being barred by the phytohormones, or otherwise called as the plant hormones. Okay, so what these phytohormones are then? These are the chemical substances being produced within the plants that will be helpful for control and coordination. And in one part of the plant, similar to the endocrine glands producing the hormones being made in one part, getting transported to the other part by the bloodstream. Similar manner, we have the phytohormones being made in one part of the plant and they get transported to the other part, where they are exhibiting the growth, development and the movement related activities. So let's see what are the phytohormones then. In a tabular format, let's try to understand. Phytohormones are auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins. Two more we have, ethylene and abscisic acid. Okay, so what is the main function of them? What is the role in plant growth? And the example we shall understand over here. Auxins, what they cause, the main function of auxins is that they cause the cell elongation. So towards the sunlight, they help the bending of the shoot, and they also help in the root formation. So because of unequal auxin distribution, there is a shoot bending towards light. And on the other hand, we have gibberellins. What they tend to do? They promote the stem elongation. They will be helpful in seed germination and they increase the length of the stem. We can say tall growth is seen in plants, particularly the ones which are treated with this plant hormone, the gibberellin. Now we have the cytokinins. What does the cytokinin do? They stimulate the cell division, thereby they help in delaying the aging of leaf and promote the lateral bud growth. So we can say because of the presence of cytokinin, which is stimulating the cell division, which is preventing the aging of leaf, which is delaying the aging of the leaf, the systems, the plant systems, they remain green for a longer time. Not the whole time, but a longer time. Okay. Now we have ethylene. What is the main function of ethylene? It promotes the fruit ripening. The role in plant is it is causing the ripening and shedding of the leaves and flowers. Example, generally when we see within the supermarkets, we have the raw fruits, right? So half they will be getting ripened. Sometimes, the production of the ethylene, the fruits ripen faster. Okay, when kept near to the ripe fruits, there is a production of these hormones and the fruit will be ripening very faster when kept with the ripe fruits. It can be ripe bananas or ripe apples, anything. But majority of the times we are going to take ripe bananas because ethylene production in them is very high, and ethylene is the only gaseous hormone. Now, abscisic acid, what it does, it inhibits growth, it induces dormancy, and helps the plant to tolerate the stress conditions. And what it does, it will be responsible for creating an inhibitory effect within the plant so that they will be surviving for the harsh conditions. Like, in order to reduce the water loss during the drought times, the stomata will be getting closed with the help of the action of abscisic acid. Okay, so any questions from anyone? Let me check. Okay, so a question being asked: plants are showing directional movement without a nervous system, but how they tend to do? Very nice question. The same thing we have been discussing as of now. They are able to show the directional movement with the help of hormones only. Okay, without a nervous system, there is a directional movement, and that too, it is taken up by the hormones. For example, plants grow towards sunlight. How? The oxygen concentration will be very high in the shaded regions, so that the shaded region cell part will be elongated, because of which there is a bending of the plant towards the light region. Okay, so, so far students, we are finally at the end of today's discussion. We have been understanding a lot number of concepts. Today's discussion, we started with the introduction to hormones in animals. We dealt with the types of glands. We discussed with the endocrine system with relation to coordination plants. We have understood about the tropic movements in plants. So later on, we understood the nastic movements, and yes, we have also understood the plant hormones, the phytohormones in today's discussion. So I hope the concept is clear for every one of you. Okay, so it's really very nice and wonderful to have all of you in today's discussion. If you are having any questions, or if you wanted to get connected with us, please feel free to connect with us via the comment section. Okay, all the best for your examinations. Prepare well, students. Thank you, and bye, everyone.